Chapter 14 The Joy of Gold. The sole inheritor of Ananti's energy was a single electric blue dot between the Emin's eyebrows. It was this dot that acted as a storage center for the insight of Nu, and indeed it was this dot into which the queen had transmigrated her spirit indefinitely. When the ribbons of her vast soul fulfilled their exodus into Nokolo's skull, the humming of the swords followed suit, dying back down to a sizzle and dimming from their omnichromatic glow to the original clever green hue they held before. The loudest sound in the mind of Nu was that of the silence of her lifeless corpse, finally in eternal slumber, after years of having lived her life on the edge. You've completed the second task, Newman. Ananti's essence will now and forevermore be a part of you. Like the lions, you are free to tap into her wisdom at any time you wish. She's deemed you ready. Your poisons ripened, heart steady, and mind clear. The arms brought the eminent back into physical life, and down from the cloud that was serving as a window into their mind's eye. Gratitude ensued, perusing itself through Nu's skin. The sun set over the horizon, and where Nokolo once perceived clear blue skies at the beginning of the meditation, now their golden eyes only saw the reflection of their skin's hue in the twinkling twilight, backdropped by the gently comforting blackness of night. The forthcoming task will be far less violent. The arms each detached themselves from Nu, morphing once more into the twin dragons of nacre and obsidian. You know well by now that your physiology greatly differs from the average humans, Oteni explained, rocky skin scraping against her brother's as they both cuddled into the eminent's lap. Your oceanic inheritance lends its adaptability to your body, granting you access to the memories of all those who live within the ocean. Your heart. Although this will be an unconscious ability for most of your life, one that can only bless you in experientially random spurts. The two dragons purred fervently while transmitting their message, opening energetic veins to the OceanHeart by way of subtle transmutation. Being who you are is a heavy undertaking. You can do things that others can't even dream of. The eyes of the eminent realms before you will see you in a certain way. Yet, the way they see you is not the way you truly are. Hyake spoke in calm serenity as darkness overtook the sky completely. All that showed its light now was the skin of Nu, contrasted in its glow by the cerulean dot of Ananti. The previous tasks have challenged your combat skills in both physical and astral realms. The next skill you'll be developing is that of tracking. You'll learn to track a molecular particle vividly from a distance between planets by utilizing a strand of its aura from 1/1,000,000th of its energetic pool. Nokolo tried to imagine all that this implied. When everything else was let go of, a thought flashed in their mind, alluding to a hyper-specific deep dive into the lineage of their ancestry. Every particle, every atom, every molecule, each and every cell was an ancestor. The bodily systems logicized the ways each individual worked together to create Nu. And as for Nu, they are the culminating new moment of all memories. Yes, the twins spoke in unison, reacting with telepathic interest in Nokolo's plunge into that train of thought. You'll be going way back. In order to fully comprehend what is going on right now, you need to make a link to your heart by moving your awareness into the direction of your choosing. Your conviction will be naturally expressed, and with it, you'll be able to sustain and preserve steadiness of will. In keeping your faith strong, your ability will naturally follow. Nu's nostrils flared impressively, intaking raw energy and expelling the rewards of transmutative effort. Heat waves rolled from the depths of the Emin's lungs, and roars rumbling like tectonic plates emanated from their throat. Energetic flares flickered at first, then engulfed the aura in a fiery cocoon of protective embrace. God's heart fire. The dragons uttered these words in unison, synchronized in stillness as seen by Nu through the filter of kaleidoscopic inferno. The flames matched the Emin's energy in intensity, ascending as their emotions did, and situating themselves on the white light spectrum until breaking through the light barrier and into the black light spectrum. Then, as immediately as they'd ignited, the auric flames diminished and coated the acacia tree with their love, which danced shadows of leaves and branches in return for the gift of eternal light. The ultra-black dot that acted as a singularity for all of the flame's intention magnetized itself to the blue dot of Ananti. It covered the moon-like marking just as the moon would cover the sun during an eclipse. When there was no more energy left to align, darkness and light bridged the invisible gap in order to build their relationship back up. The point sizzled, with Nucolo calm and sullen underneath, reflecting the peace of the singularity. Swelling, the black dot began to fill the sinuses, whirling in an ultra-fast yet somehow ultra-gentle manner. It was like the freshest breath of air that one could ever possibly take, and it ran down the eminent's lungs, throughout muscle, skin, organs, and every corner of their body. The Jacobson's organ was fully active, and sensation filled the brow chakra with indigo light until, once more, it surpassed the threshold and returned back to black, the backdrop, mother of all colors. Only the eyeballs of Nu flashed in fervor behind their lids, pulsing from the primality of their own remembrance. "Well done, Nucolo!" the dragons exclaimed together, barely able to contain their excitement. "In all your lives, we have never witnessed you acquire that lesson so quickly and naturally." "Well, it's what the ocean needs now." Nu nodded at their dichotomous siblings, quelling their excitement by lightly stroking down their back with gentle fingertips focused on their spines. After having been covered with the dragon's mineral composition for so long, their unarmed arms developed certain qualities that allowed for psychokinetic and psychometric connection to the elements of fire and water. It was an ability that had been building, but only just now made itself known to Nu. Specifically, lava and salt water, but it isn't permanent, at least, not yet, Hyake mentioned matter-of-factly, addressing the OceanHeart's instinctual realization with calm, unassuming yet slightly unnerving telepathic intuition. These powers in particular excited the eminent, knowing they already embodied the aspect of bothness from birth. It thrilled Nu to be able to be a nexus dominion point between these two powerful elements. Indeed, flame and sea are one polarity. The abilities will develop naturally, Oteni elaborated. We aren't here tonight to focus on them. Tonight's training will be in regards to the ability that God's Heartfire has granted you. Her body language picked up speed, and she leapt from the Emin's lap, expanding her form into a bipedal draconic humanoid, around the same height as Nu, and draped in a silk white robe. Hyake followed suit, with a black robe to boot. Nucolo shifted poses from that of a meditative mentee in the cross-legged position to a kneeling stance, calm but alert, and ready to take in whatever knowledge their siblings had to offer. Nu, as an eminent, you are endowed with both the divinity of humanity and the humanity of divinity. This crossroad at which you dwell realizes within you a vast capability, able to align your soul quite easily with God's love. Hyake began where his sister left off. You walk a line that those who are hypnotized within the woes of misunderstood duality will never cross. You are the other. The breath of the OceanHeart was steady, moving with the least resistance that it could. Nucolo inhaled all that the siblings had to say. But other? What did that even mean? It simply means that you are the middle path of existence, and because of that, you are able to reside in any and all happenings that precede your perception. The ocean's memory is more ancient even than God, and you were chosen for your impartiality. All life began in the sea. So, too, will all life begin in you. Surely, they were profound words, and words that Nu did their best to hold within the wrinkles of their brain. Alas, the oral script replicated itself, sending 2 copies to the heart and gut as well. By seeping its wisdom throughout all 3 of the major energetic centers of their body, it would be nigh impossible for the Emin to forget. Good. The twins spoke in unison again. Now we can move on to the next task. Oteni rummaged in her left sleeve for something. When her fingers made contact with the item, a very lizard-like smirk formed on her scaly face. Hyake did the same, only into his right sleeve, and his object appeared much bigger under the robe, but when he touched it, he, too, couldn't help but smile. A sense of confused curiosity pervaded Nu, as it began to appear as though they were both holding back laughter. It is unbearable joy, Emin, Hyake exclaimed. Yes, please, take these items from us now. Oteni echoed her brother's tenacious resolve, then tossed the item to Nucolo, who caught it and rubbed it to get a feel for what it was. On glancing down, Nu could see that it was solid gold. Somehow it proclaimed itself in a manner that no doubt for this substance could thwart the undeniable truth of what it was. And it glowed, procuring a glittering residue as if to add another layer of certainty to the eminent's perspective. A hoof? Nucolo asked. A slice of overgrown hoof, yes, of the Aurum impala. She's the last of her kind. Here, Hyake tossed his item to Nu. It was a golden horn from the same beast. The Aurum impala? Nu inquired. Once, long ago, there were many beings, not unlike yourself, who moved the tides to their emotion, seeking to unite the tribes across the land through an undyingly loyal devotion to the faith that springs from deeply knowing God. Katie, 90 days. Less than a year old, I swam with succinct pride as the baby of the group, a population of whales with 73 remaining subspecies. I see from on high in the skies so gray, overcast, for they've overcast their nets and lines into our abodes, forgetting the energetic gridwork upon their very home, forgetting the touch of dragon lore that would have been their throne. 73. Table of Elements, Tantalum, named after Tantalus, a god in their prodigiously deceptive mythos of sin, founded upon the societal overseer's first, second, final whim. Made most famous for his Tartarian punishment for trying to trick the gods into eating his own son, he was forced to stand in a pool of water below a low-hanging fruit tree, the freedom fruit upon its branches just out of grasp. Humanity's greatest problem is they don't know how to hear us ask. Chapter 14, continued. The OceanHeart followed the twins' story succinctly, attuning to their focus in a steadily secure act of attentiveness. Nu always wondered if there were beings like them. The loneliness made them sure of that. A hoof? Nicolo asked. A slice of overgrown hoof, yes, of the Aurum impala. She's the last of her kind. Here. Hiake tossed his item to Nu. It was a golden horn from the same beast. The Aurum impala? Nu inquired. Once, long ago, there were many beings not unlike yourself who moved the tides to their emotion, seeking to unite the tribes across the land through an undyingly loyal devotion to the faith that springs from deeply knowing God. The OceanHeart followed the twins' story succinctly, attuning their focus in a steadily secure act of attentiveness. Nu always wondered if there were beings like them. The loneliness made sure of that. Now only a few of them remain. With separation anxiety and the loss of divine propriety, and indeed the ways in which the two feed and need each other for their sullen survivals, only one Aurum impala remains. The twins reverted to their portable, four-legged forms, cuddling back up into Nicolo's lap. There was a goddess who used to care for these antelope. Now the stables that once held them in earnestness hold only unfelt grief, despair, and longing for what once was. Nu felt a pang of her sorrow within their heart and winced at the discomfort. Her name is Salinale. She has solitarily confined herself for centuries, and it's unknown as to where she currently resides. But now that you have come to being, OceanHeart, there is hope. The two began to purr with resilience in Nu's lap, vibrating love throughout their beings. Only one who has been touched by the love of God and has inhaled the heart fire may make contact with her. She who has driven death to its recesses and relinquished the desire for comfort. It is the reason you are not possessed by laughter when holding the golden objects. You are always in joy, whether or not it shows, whether or not you believe it. Nu smirked slightly. Not the kind of joy that comes and goes, the kind that stays and cannot be seen, explained the twins. Salinale is ready for you, or else the bodily artifacts would not have made themselves known to us. Nicolo held each item firmly in each hand, the hoof like a ringlet of dazzling light, the horn like a beam of that ringlet, shining forth from its epicenter in free and resplendent brilliance of form. As for the locating of the Aurum impala, the twins carried on with their exposition. She'll be easy to find when you follow your nose. God's heart fire does not miss, and there's truly nothing now that you can't track. It's only a matter of application. The dragons let out comfortable yawns in sync with one another, having been seduced by the comfort of night. They returned to slumber by reverting to their armed forms, in embrace of Nicolo once more, and happy to share their own intimacy in the form of the dorsal portal where their minerals met. And one more thing, Newman, the arms stated. Salinale has sought her steed for a very long time now. So, when you find the impala, blow the horn. She will come to you. Chapter 15. The Elephant and the Impala. They approach from the northwest. He sniffed the air. Their motive isn't harm. Their heartbeat is calm. And scent? He sniffed again. Natural. The elephant stood rather delicately for a beast of his size and stature, swaying magnetically above the ground to feel vibrations through each and every inch of his 4 foot pads. His shadow refused its own darkness against the shimmering backdrop of her golden visage. There were times when it dimmed her emanation, but it was never obscured completely. I don't want to get my hopes up, the golden creature stammered. I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. His trunk touched the ground in confirmation, feeling the footprints of the foreign travelers even from this great distance. She looked at him with innocence flooding her pupils. I know that. The two were an unlikely pair, but a pair that fit well regardless. He was Goru, a giant among giants, exiled from his nomadic fraternity for the simple act of taking up too much space. He lived life on his own terms anyways. She was Aurelia, the last of her kind and a golden light that was impossible to fade from the sea of the savannah. He was the darkness that clouded her, keeping her safe from the poachers who'd use her body parts for crimes of unbridled ecstasy. She was the purpose he'd sought all along. Together, they trekked the landscape in a waltz of deliberate wanderlust, but today was the fateful day that the seeking would finally cease. It has to be them. There's no one else it could be, Goru reassuringly grumbled. Then what should we do? Aurelia asked. I think we should walk to meet them, don't you? It's been so long since sorrow overcame you. You deserve to feel the same joy that you give others. She knew he was right. Joy couldn't exist without sorrow, or at least that was the way she saw it. So, with two long shadows matching their solemn moods in the dusky light, the pair began their migration into the direction Goru's trunk led. Heavy sighs rang out from the lungs of the elephant, and soft whimpers from the throat of the impala. Their combined weariness was almost too much for each to bear. He, from having to fend off the consistent attacks the hunters perpetrated against her, and her from the toll of emotional turmoil it all had taken on her soul. For too long now, there were far too many undeserving entities lusting for her in all the wrong ways. They heard the legends of her exuberance, the healing and replenishing abilities of her body parts. It was only natural for someone who'd been so unnaturally ill for so long to pursue the remedy of all lifetimes. Their leaders failed them, and so, in a twisted way, it was only right for them to seek her out, if not for her actual body, then for the sake of their own begotten hope. The world was cruel, so retaliation rang its wickedly virile tone for those in need of God. Like a temptation of the unknown that can only spring from the deepest part of the ocean, they were compelled to her aura like moths to a flame. Only he was willing and able to protect her, and so he did. He fought and killed every hunter who thought they'd make off with a dead elephant as an addition to the antelope's already resplendent treasure. Killing was not something he liked doing, but it kept them both safe. Now, at the climax of his diligent chivalry, there was new hope for them, embroidered in this peculiar scent and strange vibration, felt keenly by his seismic sense. Through this unfamiliar territory, he led their way proudly. His nose was his greatest asset, next to his honor, and it was another reason for his banishment in the first place. The other brothers made a habit of spooking themselves with ignorance at his keen, intuitive sense. They couldn't understand, so they drove him away. He would never kill one of his own, so he let them. Even the most well-lived matriarchs were nowhere near the level of pheromonal proficiency he embodied. His tusks were his next best qualities. They glimmered in the morning sun like two righteous longswords as the pair marched toward the newcomer. While they were his most formidable weapons, they were also the part of him that exposed his deepest vulnerability. When the hunters attacked, they made sure to put in their best effort to kill Goru, just as well as Aurelia, for the two ivory scythes, which were worth a human fortune. Thankfully, the few who succeeded in even coming close enough to touch her could never make it past Goru's impenetrable musculature. He killed many trespassers over the years, and the guilt he carried for it was the only thing, save for Aurelia herself, that ever pierced his tough exterior. With every death, he felt the pain of the poacher's sons and daughters in finding out the news they'd be growing up with one less parent. Goru's heart matched his size, and Aurelia was the only one who got to know it. In this way, their relationship was a beautifully rare flower, fragile in its growth, yet essential to the very spirit of actualized individuation. Only they could ensure their blossoming, and only they could smell the fragrance that those unique petals exuded on a day-to-day basis. Only they could ever hope to expand their love and tend to their garden of friendship. Only they, until now. The vagabond was pink, higher in saturation than the pale human phenotype, and with physical traits of melanation. Their pink was a deep and burning vibrancy, one that shone itself from the spiritual plane proudly, affecting its beauty upon the skin. Its glow was only rivaled by the gold of their eyes, which reflected the sunlight in the same way a panther's would from within the shelter of the dark of night. On their forehead was that single blue dot from Ananti, completing the circle of primary colors displayed proudly on their vivid human mask. Goru and Aurelia stopped and took the Emin in slowly, for there was much about them to take in. They'd never seen anyone like this, and their peaceable countenance seemed to instill a breath of truly fresh air into all four of the pair's overworked lungs. "You're like me," Goru spoke out, raising his trunk in curious fascination. The Emin's body made no discernible responding movements. Instead, Nucolo stood still, allowing the elephant to feel and sniff with the skin and hairs of his trunk. "How?" Goru asked. "How could a human have the same gifts as me? Even my own kin are nowhere near my level of prodigy. With your tiny nose, how could God design its spirit so fully as to match the expertise of my superb trunk?" The eminent remained still, like the mountain on which their peripheral focus was set. From this mountain came the histories of the unlikely pair and the future of the one in question. This was their crossroads. "I am called Nucolo," they finally spoke. "I am the eminent representative to both humanity and oceanity. I am on my way to my divine half, but before I can arrive home, my arms have afforded me particular tasks to accomplish, which will prepare me for every intricate intimacy of my pelagic destiny." Aurelia's heart was lifted, even if just a few ounces, for a few seconds. Goru's made the very same movement. The Emin's eyes shifted directly to the eyes of the impala, making contact in an unobtrusive yet powerfully assertive manner. She reacted with involuntary tears, the kind that were begging to be held in, yet dying to be let out, for far too long. When Goru saw them, he, too, wept for the woes of their migration. "Are you the last of the Aurum Impala?" The Emin's words echoed through the long, empty hallway of her heart. It was as if hearing this question led her to finally admitting who she truly was. "I am," she responded in kind, with a sense of fulfillment resounding through her body to claim its worth in her soul once more. Goru shed a voluntary tear this time, sniffling through the emotion with brassy whimpers. Nucolo nodded at the both of them, then reached for the center of their own shoulder blades. From out that dorsal portal came a long, twisted relic which Aurelia almost didn't even recognize. When the spark of familiarity was felt, joy overtook her eyes. "My horn! It's been so long. How did you find it? Who had it?" "Selinale set it so that my siblings would find it, and they gave it to me." "Selinale. Her prior joy was quelled by distant nostalgia for her distant goddess, the same one who vanished from her life long ago, yet, for whatever reason, held on to this part of her. Her simply loving heart felt many complex things in that moment, but imprisonment and objectification were center stage. How could her goddess, the one within whom she placed her faith, and who, indeed, she was destined to keep her faith in no matter the circumstances, have kept this part of her for so long without telling her? Why not give it back, and why fragment her like this in the first place? How could she even have convinced herself to do something so heartless? Those are the questions you'll need to ask her, Nucolo replied after receiving her thoughts in empathic neutrality. The OceanHeart lifted the tip of the horn to their lips with diligent fervor for the coming reunion of prophetic remembrance. Then, Nu blew the horn into the sky, spinning around and arching the sound up and down in waves so it would reach the hearts of any and all beings within range of its volume. Goru also blew his trumpeting voice in an echo of celebration for the victory that their meeting had affirmed. There would be no more fighting, no more fending off the men with iron guns and hearts. He could finally be free, though he knew not yet of what that meant in its totality. But the simple embrace of the joy that it brought could instill enough significance for his act of unbridled appreciation to honor the new and uncharted love that lay ahead. The past finally passed. The future finally came. And with it came Selinale, the moon-faced hermit. The distant mountain began to rumble in response to the horn, presaging her arrival. A tunnel beneath the ground shot through straight to the three freshly kindled friends, and from this tunnel came Selinale. At seeing her goddess again, Aurelia couldn't hide the old love that naturally seeped through her spirit, although she did try. She was completely enamored at her return, whereas Goru was enamored at Aurelia's adoration. Selinale, visibly relieved that Nucolo brought them all back together, grabbed the horn from the eminent with haste, looking it up and down and scrutinizing its many twists and crevices. Then she held the bottom of it, where the sound just shouted from so fiercely, and cupped it in her left hand. A light, white like the winter moon, beamed from her fingers and saturated the horn's circumference. After the light faded, she fastened the horn securely to the impala's head, restoring balance to her crown and thus her future. Aurelia wept fiery tears. They stung her skin in her pain and dyed her fur black like the markings of a cheetah. Why do you sob in indignation, Impala? I have returned to you, and not only that, the OceanHeart has returned your horn to you. Are you not relieved? Asked Selinale, her face imposing an intimidating, almost robotic demeanor. I am relieved, the antelope said, but I am also hurt, saddened, and distraught from your abandonment. I needed you. And what's more, she huffed and sniveled through the agonizing emission, you fragmented me. You've taken and held a piece of me for so long, never bothering to come and search for me, and sending someone else to do it for you. Are you my goddess? Are you the one in whom I find my salvation? Or are you just as bad as the souls lost to themselves who would rather have me dead and sold than alive and free to choose how I want to spread my unbearable joy? Selinale absorbed her impala's emotional discharge with respect for her perspective, just as the new moon would absorb itself for another cycle. Then she sighed a deep, heaving breath of understanding and spoke. My dear, I could never truly leave you. I kept your horn, knowing that having one piece of you meant that I would one day have all of you. At those words, Aurelia's tears ceased their singes and healed the burnt markings instead. And who better to have you than I, to know you than I? Who better to care for you, to comfort you? Aurelia's eyes glimmered with hope realized. To hold the highest part of your illustrious form, which could never be fully removed from your skull, for the crown was always yours to inherit. Your neck is strong, powered by a formidably gentle heart, and founded on the protection of your titanic friend, whom I do thank. She looked to Goru, smiled, then bowed, and he bowed back. Even I, in my lunar light, could not find you past his cloak of protective hearth. Goru, too, began to weep, his tears dropping on the ground below his bowed head. Then he lifted his head to see Salinale and to give Aurelia a look of comfort. That is true friendship. From her eye sank a tear down her cheek. It flowed with the wrinkles of her smile. And it makes me happy and grateful. Even in my absence, God sends you someone meant to be your family. Aurelia felt every word her goddess spoke, tear for tear, and hope for hope. I sought you out every single night. I never stopped moving, not even once. And when the skies were moonless and it seems like I had left, those were the nights I cried tears like yours, which dyed my face black with grief and longing for you. Aurelia's feelings bubbled over at the sacredness of her goddess's devotion. At long last, her plight was embraced, and Salinale received her head close to the heart. The two stood in a perfect silhouette, for a moment becoming statues in the Serengeti, while the elephant and the OceanHeart looked on with loving patience. For protecting my final Aurum Impala, Goru, I thank you, really and truly. What you've given her, words can never hold. So words won't be able to appreciate the gratitude I feel for you. The elephant nodded his colossal head in reception of her words, then bowed on his knees to her heavenly aura. I also thank you, Nucolo, for following your divine nose and living up to the heart fire that God so graciously gave to you. Nu received her thanks, nodding and bowing alongside the elephant. Most of all, I thank you, Aurelia, for fighting death in all the ways you could, even knowing you were the last of your kind. It takes a rare form of faith, trust, and devotion to do all you have done, and to come out alive on the other side. So, my child, thank you for your patient resilience. If I am the goddess of the hunt, then you are now and forever the queen of all game. The goddess comforted her steed by nuzzling her neck. And finally, at long last, the last Aurum Impala shed her very last tear.